Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to CFL Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans, and we have our Week 6 review. I've been looking forward to this one, Rick. I was so thrilled to do this review, and as all of the happy CFL fans, minus Bomber fans, are dancing on the graves that was our second half performance, you will notice that I'm not wearing Bomber gear for this video. That is because they did not earn it. And Ottawa earned this hat for this video. So it is what it is. And but yeah, let's get through it. So we're going to start this week off with Hamilton avoiding embarrassment with a victory over the Edmonton Elks.
Which would have been worse than your guys' loss.
And that's saying something. And that is saying something. But you guys thankfully didn't have to go through that. You guys defeated the absolute powerhouse of the Edmonton Elks at home.
I kid you not, I was nervous up to kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, listen, if we lose tonight, I'm not going on the CFL Discord channel for at least a week. Because I knew, I wouldn't hear the end of it.
If you lost that video, like I was preparing to like receive the text like, hey man, like you can just cover it for this week. Like I'll just be like back for like the next week's video. I was just like, yeah, Rick's gonna have to go into exile for a little bit.
Be like.
Actually, no. You would come back because you'd be like, yeah, this shirt, like, this. If it didn't mean something before, it means something now. Oh, that is so funny. That is. So funny.
I would have went into the dark hole like Aaron Rodgers did.
Oh my goodness.
But anyway, so this game started out with Tyler Ternowski botching the kickoff, and they got the recovery. I'm like, oh, here we go. We're doomed now. But they only got a field goal out of it. This first half is like kind of like your guys' first half, where like you guys don't show up for a first half.
This week's game was actually the opposite. We showed up for the first half and then did not show up for the second half.
No, but our game, it was like 10-6 at halftime. I'm like, oh, here comes a snooze fest. And then Cornelius decided, oh, I'm going to throw it right to their defensive back, Kachatonis, and let him go return for a pick six.
Was he playing DB? He wasn't playing safety?
No, but like the play where he was.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, the play where he was a DB, and he just basically threw it right to him, ran it back for a pick six, and then it just started like, Schultz went down, kind of sucks because now it's.
And now he's on 6-game IR, I believe, right?
They listed it as a hip injury according to CFL.ca.
But I saw him on the 6-game injured list, right?
Oh, he is on the 6-game injured list.
Not good.
But now, then,
what is with the CFL's quarterbacks all getting injured this year? Like all of them, like just they're all going down, which is getting me extra worried about Zach Caleros.
Then Taylor Powell comes in his first play. What does he do? He throws a touchdown to him White.
There you go.
So our defense and offense came alive in the third with 24 points. My guy, James Butler, had 167 yards, all-purpose yards, and 1 touchdown. Yep. And this is what happens when, Carter, your team uses your running backs. And you guys have a good pass rushing game.
Don't do that to me. Don't. I asked for your opinion because it was your game. We'll get to my game. Oh, trust me. We will get to my game.
The sad thing is, between our two quarterbacks, we only threw 12 for 21, and we still won.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't know what your guys' obsession with hating Leggio is, but outside of that one extra point that he missed,
Well, you know what
he's
our
been on
obsession with
fire.
hating Leggio was? Our obsession with hitting Leggio is that he would hit every single kick except for the ones that mattered. That was the
No.
problem, is that he had no clutch. The thing is that you could get he would hit all the kicks in the game, and then you'd be behind by two. Let's say you're behind by 3 points, last play of the game, like 18-yard field goal, and he'd screw that up. That's the problem, is that he had no clutch. And the thing is that when you have a kicker, the most important thing is being clutch.
But see, our good thing with this game is when you spread the ball around, it works. Where you just don't depend on two people,
Yep.
like another team did that we'll get into later on, where they only focused on two people and they still lost. We actually focused on all of our receivers, and good old Kevin McAllister had a punt return for a touchdown, and it ended up getting called back.
Because
Otherwise, of a hold
that's all it
on
takes.
the kick return. And people are saying that it was a weak hold, that it should not have been called. And we could have had 43 points on the Edmonton Elks.
Well,
But
woulda, coulda, shoulda.
truth be told, yeah. And in Edmonton, they are continuing the gold quarterback Purcell again. Let's play Cornelius. Cornelius is going to start. He went 11 for 20 and 177 yards, one touchdown, 2 picks. And let's take him out and put in our backup. When is Chris Jones ever going to learn that Cornelius is not his guy anymore?
Well, you know what the thing was, is that it seemed like Cornelius was going to be his guy, in the sense of that was kind of the natural move when Trevor Harris left. But then, like, the thing is that once he realized it wasn't his guy, instead of accepting that fact, he was just like, no, trust him. like just. But the thing is that Taylor Cornelius, with the way he's able to run, he works well as a secondary QB, which he was to Harris, which is why he looked so good when he was with Trevor Harris, was because the role that he played as that secondary quarterback was very much comparable to a Andrew Prukop, in the sense if you put him in for short yardage, he'll get that. But it's one of those things where he just hasn't been able to kind of connect the way that Chris Jones would have liked. Like a lot of Chris Jones decisions, they just haven't been able to pan out the way that people would prefer. But our next game of the week, we'll get into that, is the Toronto Argonauts versus the Montreal Alouettes. So the Argonauts win 35-27 over the Alouettes. So the Toronto Argonauts stay undefeated. Strong start to the season. Now, it's funny, because before this week, I would have said that Toronto was maybe the team to beat, just in the sense that the Bombers had one really, really off game, but like, still look at that roster, still pretty damn good. When they beat the Lions were on a particularly off night. They were fortunate in that regard. They've had a really good start, I will say that. However, there will be some time when, like the Lions, like the Bombers, they will have that day off. However, it wasn't this week against the Alouettes. Put up 35 points. Alouettes only put up 27. How did you feel about that game there?
I mean, Chad Kelly only missed 4 throws out of the whole game.
How many?
And he threw for 351 yards for 3 touchdowns and 1 interception.
That's not
Like,
bad.
if you have a quarterback throwing that,
what was his like reception ratio?
So his reception ratio, there was David Unger the third, who came from us. He had 2 touchdowns. So you had
no, I meant like how many throws?
So
how many of them were received?
21 out of 25. So he only missed 4. So you had 4 receivers over 50 yards, and then you had 4 under 50 yards. So again, he still spread the ball out.
Yep.
My thing is, Montreal still has not learned, and I'm going to continue to say this week in and week out. If anyone tries to tell me otherwise, I'd like to see the stats, but Montreal has the worst offensive line in the league.
Oh, absolutely. Cody Fajardo is getting blown up on a weekly basis.
Like, they're averaging at least 4 sacks a game now. Minimum.
It's not good. And you know what the thing is that Cody Fajardo was under the false pretense that was the number one thing that he had left behind was getting killed every play. But sadly, that has not been the case with him in Montreal. And although if there's any sort of benefit, like it's honestly kind of astonishing that out of all the quarterbacks that have gotten injured, that Fajardo isn't one of them. You know what I mean? With how many chances he's been exposed to with his O-line seemingly just not being able to hold it in front of him, you would have expected that he would be one of the guys to go, but nope.
But the interesting player that stands out to me this game is rookie Tyler Snead.
Oh, yeah?
He had 3 passes thrown to him, 3 catches, 3 touchdowns. There's probably no one that has ever done that.
Interesting.
That I know of, anyways. But other than that, there's Stanback only had 53 yards. He's nowhere to be found. I mean, Austin Mack and Julian Grant were targeted 18 times. They caught it 13. Like normal, if you try to take them out, who are they going to throw to? Turns out now Snead's now probably their 3rd wide receiver for the year.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, there's no sacks on Chad Kelly. Like, this defense does not scare me whatsoever.
No, it doesn't. And so because of that, Alouettes, despite actually putting up a decent amount of points against the Argos, just not enough to get it done.
The one thing that I will mention,
yep.
This is the most hilarious thing is because there's a 3-way tie for second. Montreal gets it because they beat us, and we're in 3rd because we beat Ottawa.
Yeah, what a strange way this works. Speaking of strange things, we have our next game of the week, where the Winnipeg Blue Bombers blew a 19-point lead in 15 minutes. Oh boy. So, for those who are looking for maybe a more animated and vulgar take on this whole ordeal, I encourage you to check out the Bomber game reaction I did on the Nolan Hockey podcast. I've since had time to fix my everlasting depression with alcohol and with crying myself to sleep. And so I've come out a changed man. Changed for the worse, absolutely. Broken in multiple different ways, but that's not important. How can a team be so good and so unbelievably shit in the same game? The first half of this game, the Red Blacks did not get themselves a first down until 4 minutes and 22 seconds left in the second quarter. Not a one. We owned the Red Blacks in the first half. We were running them over. And we go into the second half, and it starts a little rough, but we get some points in the third. Is what it is. The fourth quarter, this is where it all falls apart. So I've realized that the Bombers are not a fourth quarter team. They are a sometimes fourth quarter team. Either they play absolutely amazing and win the game on it, or they take the biggest shit possible and it destroys everything. And so and there's no in between. There's never a half decent fourth quarter. It's either amazing or shit. There's no way around it. However, if we want to talk about consistencies, we have one thing that's being consistently good in this game and one thing that's consistently bad. Consistently good. Sergio Castillo is great. 52-yard field goal, hits it dead center, not even close to missing in any capacity. Like, he had a lot more, he had more than enough power behind it. It was dead center. Like, from 52 yards, there's not more you can ask for in a kicker in the CFL. So Sergio Castillo has been absolutely flawless this year. I know there's one convert he missed in one of those games. It is what it is. But Sergio Castillo has now hit 23 straight field goals without error. If you count the field goals that he ended with last season, as well as the ones that he's had this season, he's 23 in zip in his past 23. Pretty good. Pretty good. Now, if we're going to talk about something that was consistently bad this game, oh my God, can we please actually run the ball and get somewhere? 26 yards all game. That's a bit of a yikes, especially when Oliveira is the leading running back going into this game. Great. And then, so that sucked. And it was kind of strange because our O-line, their pass block was actually relatively good. This is minusing the fourth quarter where nobody played good. Their pass block was relatively good. Just their rush block, they just could not rush block at all. I don't know what it was. I don't know if they couldn't get a grip on those guys. They couldn't push them forward, but were good at holding them back. I mean, I'll put it this way. As a former offensive lineman myself, pass blocking is significantly easier than rush blocking. I will give them the benefit of the doubt in that regard. But we couldn't open up any holes to do anything with. And it's one of those things where we had to play a little bit one-dimensional this game because we couldn't get that figured out. But then the second that Ottawa figured that throwing game out, we were screwed. Which eventually they obviously did. Now, and then the quarterback matchup. Former MOP, two-time Grey Cup champion, over 1,000 yards in 5 games, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions going in, against the guy who's making his first CFL career start, and he's 0-2 in touchdowns and interceptions, and has less than 150 yards. And yeah, we made him look like Jesus. Seriously, he looked like Jesus' second coming. He looked like he had gotten off the cross and just was waltzing around. I've never seen the Bombers fall apart so badly so quickly. And I'm so pissed off because it wasn't even just that we got blown out. It's that we were capable of, we played so well and then we played like shit and we blew it. And then when we went to overtime, that still wasn't enough of a wake-up call. The fact that frickin' Crum ran 20 yards to get the touchdown on the last play in overtime, perfectly summarizes this, you know what I mean? But I'm just not having it, So, how did you feel about this one, Rick?
I mean, when two things, when Claris throws for 369 yards, you think something almost throwing for 400 yards that you guys are going to win, but that's not the case.
Told you.
I mean, Oliveira had more receiving yards than he had rushing. He had 108. And he went 3 for 3.
Yeah, because he had a play where he got about like 40 yards on a throw, and I was just like, yeah, I guess we can't run the ball, so we'll use Oliveira for
But I
that.
mean, you guys had 6 sacks on Crum, and that still didn't stop him.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
Ottawa doesn't even need a running back now. Like, I know you got to dress one, but why use one? When Crum goes 26 for 42, 261 passing yards, 1 interception, but then he runs for 103 yards and gets 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
And we all now know that Nate Bahar is his favorite receiver because he threw to him 14 times and he only caught 10.
That's
What
not
I
that
would
bad.
like to know is what in the flipping HE double hockey sticks had happened to Jalen Ackland, because his career has gone down the toilet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a rough time for Jalen Ackland. And like if you think about like kind of the stature and the pedigree he was viewed at when he was in Hamilton, it's like we're starting to get to the point where it's like, before he was looked as, one of the younger top upcoming receivers. And now I'm
Like,
not so sure.
Carter, just think of these numbers, okay? This
Yep.
is in 5 games.
Yep.
He's received 16 of 31
Oh,
for 188 yards. That's it.
that's it.
That's it. No
That's
touchdowns, no yak. Like, I would just like to know, like, where, like,
well.
I don't mean this towards like Ottawa fans, but is this like where players' careers go to die?
Last name is Crumb. Man, he's got to be the
Well, I
local
mean,
hero right now.
that
And
whole
like
that
not
whole
gonna and
defense.
and not gonna lie, fuck, I miss Drew Desjardins. He looked so good. He looked so good on with the Red Blacks, but Happy's
And
having
they still got
success.
3 sacks on Caleros.
Yeah, and you have to keep in mind that was all in the second half. I was all in like the third or fourth quarter. That was all either late third or fourth quarter. So they
Back to
essentially they essentially got similar to sacks than what we did because we got sacks that were kind of consistent throughout the game. But they got 3, so they were playing just as hard defensively in at least that last portion of the game.
And I will say this: no lead is a good lead, and the game is not over until you see zeros on that score clock.
That's true. And speaking of a game that is not over till it's over, however, even if there are zeros in the score clock, if that ball's in the air, it could change things. And that, of course, is the Stampeders versus Saskatchewan Roughriders game, where the Calgary Stampeders win 33-31 over the Riders, where the Riders have to deal with double tragedy in this victory as they lose to the Stamps and they lose Trevor Harris in a ugly, ugly knee injury. Like, ugh. Like, I didn't see
Did
this
you?
when this happened, but you sent me a video of it, Rick, and I watched it, and I was like, your leg's not supposed to bend that way.
I don't know what it is, but it would not surprise me if every team had an injured quarterback by the end of the season.
Shut up.
No, I'm just saying, like, us and Ottawa are on our third strings. Locks, you might as well get Loxley
No,
warmed up.
Ottawa's on their fourth. Believe he's their
Oh yeah,
fourth.
because oh yeah, sorry, Mr. Arbuckle. My sincere apologies.
Ping pong legend.
But yeah, it's like this game went back and forth, back and forth. I mean, except for the second quarter where Calgary scored 17 points.
Yep.
And it's like I I can't remember. Did both of us take Regina, or did I take Calgary and you take Regina? Do you remember?
I took. I thought I took Calgary.
We'll have to go back and look at it.
I can't remember. The reason I think I took Calgary was because I was talking about how Saskatchewan had like barely beaten Edmonton. And so I thought, I believe I took Calgary with that as like kind of my rationale. I could be wrong though.
I mean, Calgary had what? 1, 2, 6, 8 sacks this whole game.
Well, I guess Cody Fajardo slightly improved in the getting killed department from going from 8 sacks a game to 6. But yeah, that's not good. And
I mean, Mason Fine came in through 6 for 8 for 116 and 2 touchdowns.
Mason Fine's been all right, and that's the thing. That's why if you're a Riders fan, I wouldn't like completely panic in the sense of like it's one of those things where like realistically, the Stamps are probably going to pass you and take that playoff spot. But it's one of those things where like Mason Fine will get some good experience, and he's not a bad option. He's not bad. He's not ideal. He's not starter material, but it's one of those things where if you can kind of build with him a bit, you can see how much he kind of grows, and you can kind of roll with that.
One thing that I will mention.
Yep.
The only reason why this went down to the second is because of Super Mario. Mario Alford had 2, not 1, but 2 punt returns for touchdowns.
That's crazy. That's wild.
That is the only reason why this game was close. Otherwise, Calgary would have blew them out of the water.
Yep. And I got to say, a nice clutch kick by Rene Paredes to secure the victory. Getting that 50-yard field goal to end the game there. Quite something. Now, one thing I will also say is, so where does this put them standings-wise next to each other?
So, if I'm not mistaken, Saskatchewan has beat them twice.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Saskatchewan has the tiebreaker because Saskatchewan is 3-2, whereas Calgary's 2-3.
I see. Yeah, because it's one of those things where I do expect at some point to see Calgary kind of overtake the Riders.
Here's the difference for that. So this week, Riders play BC.
Yep.
In BC.
That's not happening.
Calgary plays Ottawa at home. Next week, you have Touchdown Atlantic, where Riders are playing Toronto and Halifax.
Yeah.
And Calgary's in Montreal.
Yeah, that's a game they can win.
So, which I can't see Riders beating both BC and Toronto with Mason Fine.
No. I don't know if they win either of those games with Mason Fine. Unless something happens to Chad Kelly.
By week 9, Calgary could be in 3rd.
Yep. No, that's fair. But I mean, like, is there anything else you want to cover for this game? I don't think there's really that much else to cover, but nope, overall, it's been a week of CFL football. It's been
best week so far this season.
Oh, miserable. Miserable. Absolute utter fucking misery. All right. And
one thing I want to say.
Oh boy.
Are you going to go in hiding if you guys lose to the Elks? And I should just do like a recording next week and just like send it to your brother?
I want to thank everyone for watching. Make sure you guys comment down below. Leave a like if you have not already. Make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys next time, maybe.
Touchdown!